Snipers, you have to see what's happening the Bitcoin price right now. So this is an extremely important update, which is why I had to get out this video today, because if you looked at the equity markets, Coinbase up over 20%, Meta stock up over 20% today. But what about Bitcoin? Let's dive straight into the charts, because notice how despite a very strong day in the equity markets, Bitcoin has yet to break its major resistance of 24,300. As a matter of fact, our candle high yesterday was 24,253. Just $50 shy of the most important price of 24,300. We've been talking about this price level for the last few weeks. Why is this price level so important, snipers? Well, as we talked about in our last video, snipers, if we break above 24,300, hourly and 4-hour candle confirmations above this level opens up the door for Bitcoin to potentially test the $35,000 level. This is a major gap here, a major range, and Bitcoin would actually move away from the range down here to the range up here if we just get hourly and 4-hour candles above 24,300. Of course, a full daily candle confirmation with bullish symmetry is what we'd like to see. If we look at yesterday's candle, notice how we sort of had bearish candle symmetry. As a matter of fact, despite the equity markets and the S&P 500 closing the day green, we saw Bitcoin's daily candle close the day red. Why is this the case? Well, if we really wanted to dissect this, we could go into the Bitcoin against SPY chart, and what you'll notice is it looks like we've potentially found an area of resistance here, maybe even a top. We're not seeing continued momentum for Bitcoin against the SPY. These are all extremely important puzzle pieces that we're going to discuss in today's video. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, snipers. If you support this content when it matters the most, I'm going to get you guys out an important update just like this one. And so let's dive straight into Bitcoin's technical analysis. We'll cover some 4-dimensional revolving parts, but until Bitcoin is able to close hourly and 4-hour candles above 24,300, keep this in mind. The range that we're still in has a support of 17,204. Now, certainly Bitcoin does not have any reason to come back down towards the $17,000 level at this point, especially even the $20,000 level, because we haven't seen weakness in the 4-dimensional revolving parts. But it's important to know that this is still the range Bitcoin is in until we can get above 24,300. And so we are facing a resistance level. What does that typically mean? Well, if you face a resistance, typically you'll get rejected. And so at this point, especially if Bitcoin is below 23,795, guess what? That means that the door is still open for some potential downside, maybe to squeeze out some long positions, because we already saw over $700 million of short positions liquidated with this short squeeze. What if we see a nice push down to grab some more liquidity down here before we see a continuation to move upside? Regardless, any one of these scenarios would still be bullish for Bitcoin if we hold above the 2018 previous all-time high, the realized price, all showing confluence here at the $19,800 level. As a matter of fact, we could even pull up the daily moving averages, and you'll see it shows confluence with where the 200-day moving average is sitting. This is an extremely important level. And notice this, Bitcoin broke above the 200-day moving average and has yet to come and test it as a support level. Typically, when you break a major resistance like this, at some point you come and test it as a support level. So garden variety market behavior, which means normal market behavior, would assume that at some point we're going to come and test that 200-day moving average, and probably it's going to happen before we can get some strength above 24,300, since this is the range resistance. This is the volume resistance. And guess what? It's not only the volume resistance, but it's also the breaking point in which Bitcoin can invalidate this local high. So far, we only have a lower high formed. If we want to invalidate this high, we want to form a higher high, get above this level. 24,300 is more important than ever right now. That is the major resistance for Bitcoin. And I'll tell you what, snipers, if Bitcoin gets above 23,795 and squeezes itself below 24,300 and it's inside of this tight range, that's the early signs that we're ready to see a move to the upside. But being below 23,795 opens up the door for potential long squeeze, which means we see downside potentially, grab some liquidity down below, and then maybe we see a continuation of the upside, test that 200-day moving average. That's still a very plausible scenario that's on the table that we have to monitor if Bitcoin is not able to get above 24,300. And yes, the equity markets were phenomenal today. Look at this watch list, snipers. If you look at Coinbase here, 23.99% to the upside. If we look at Meta stock, over 20% to the upside. A major gap has now formed here on the daily chart. And then if we pull up the weekly chart, you can see It's a very big fat green candle here on the weekly chart. When you see these major gaps on the daily chart, a lot of times they will get filled. Notice how we had this major gap to the downside, eventually it got filled. And so could we say that there's a case to make that over the next few days, we're probably going to see the markets calm down? That's certainly on the table, especially since Bitcoin is stuck here at this major resistance. I just want you guys to keep that scenario in mind. But no matter what, any way we put this, at the end of the day, 2023 has been a bullish start to the year. This was January 1st of 2023. Just notice how much momentum we've seen since then. Year to date alone, Bitcoin is now up 46%. Guess what? If we get above 24,300, we're up 46% so far year to date. We have another 40% potential upside for Bitcoin getting above 24,300. Total, in terms of year to date, that would put Bitcoin at almost 100% up year to date if we break above 24,300 and then reach the next volume resistance of 35,000. So extremely important here to monitor for Bitcoin. Another food for thought, snipers, is let's pull up some macro analysis. The 50-month moving average showing confluence with the major resistance. If we reject 24,300 and 23,795, that also means we're rejecting the 50-month moving average. Extremely important here to monitor this 50-month moving average. And then on the weekly chart, you can see Bitcoin has yet to come and test this 200-week moving average. If you get close to the 200-week moving average and you don't test it, that's not a bullish sign. And so preferably what I'd like to see to strengthen the bullish case is to get towards that 200-week moving average, and that would actually almost invalidate this local high. And so that would be another very bullish case, and it would only take Bitcoin getting towards 24,800 to see that happen. But once again, we are facing this major resistance. It's not a coincidence that our candle high was less than $50 shy of this extremely important price level that we've been monitoring here on the Snipers channel over the last few weeks, the #1 cryptocurrency technical analysis channel on the internet. If you like this content, subscribe to the channel, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about Bitcoin in the comment below. Let's talk about some 4-dimensional revolving parts, because that's why a lot of you are tuned into this channel. Let's look at the DXY. Over the last 7 months now, the DXY has been extremely bearish. Major downside here for the DXY. Let's pull up some basic indicators like some moving averages. You can see below the 50-day, below the 200-day. If we pull up the weekly chart, below the 50-week moving average, it looks like the only next target in the macro when it comes to basic indicators is going to be that 200-week moving average. What about the death cross and the golden cross, right? We had a death cross here for the US dollar and then the golden cross for Bitcoin. Guess what? T-minus 48 hours potentially until we see a golden cross here for Bitcoin, where that short-term moving average is going to cross above that long-term moving average. Even the S&P 500 has already seen a golden cross. You can see not only has the S&P 500 broke this major bear market resistance level, but we are seeing continuation to the upside on a daily basis and continued strength. And so that's extremely positive for the start of 2023. Of course, everyone was making a fuss about Jerome Powell increasing the interest rates up 25 basis points. Of course, I didn't want to get caught up in that whole debacle. We know here that the charts are black and white. The fundamentals can be anything. It's a rainbow and a spectrum of news that comes up, and they'll always attach those narratives to what the price action is doing. But at the end of the day, we're focused on the charts here. This is the #1 technical analysis on the cryptocurrency market. And so we know the charts are going to give us the answers. The patterns are predictable. And that's why you guys are tuned in here. Let's dive straight back into the chart, snipers. Let's talk about Ethereum really quick. So we're seeing a lot of equities do well. What about some altcoins, right? Ethereum being the leading indicator for altcoins. It does have some room to go before it tests its major resistance here at 1760. The range Ethereum is in has a resistance of 1760. We have yet to get to test that major level, but you can see Ethereum also showing strength above the 2018 previous all-time high at 1440. More importantly, the Ethereum to Bitcoin pairing, you can see just hanging by a thread here with this major support of this market structural symmetrical triangle. We want to monitor this. If we break below that 69,000 Satoshi level, that could spell trouble for the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, because then we only have 65,000 Satoshis left to hold us up. If we break 65,000 Satoshis, that could really put the Ethereum to Bitcoin valuation in jeopardy. Other altcoins may follow, and then of course what that would cause is Bitcoin dominance to move to the upside. Bitcoin dominance, by the way, has slowed down. We haven't been seeing continued momentum as we saw from the start of this year, but we have to keep watching Bitcoin dominance, because remember, We want this to get towards its 200-week moving average in order to assume that the bottom is already in, because in 2018, it wasn't until the Bitcoin dominance got to that 200-week moving average that we were confirming that the bottom was already in, and it became the bottom, and we never saw further downside. And so we want Bitcoin dominance to get to that 200-week moving average. We'll continue to monitor that. It has slowed down a bit, but a very phenomenal day in the equity markets today. I had to get out this video update because when you see this type of exuberance and this type of excitement in the market, typically we'll start to slow down over the next few days into the next few weeks. Let's see what happens. Coinbase was up over 20% today. Meta stock up over 20% today. Snapchat up over 15% today. A lot of the tech sector did extremely well. And what about Bitcoin? It didn't break its major resistance because guess what? Despite the narratives, the numbers don't lie. 24,300 is extremely important, snipers. That's the major resistance Bitcoin is facing right now with a support of 17,200. That's the range Bitcoin is in. If we break above 24,300, guess what? We open up the door to 35,000 US dollars. And as always, when you open up the door to a large range like that, you'll typically find a little bit of a slowdown to the half point of that range. That would open up the door to maybe 29,000, 30,000 before we start to see a little bit of a pullback. We'll continue to monitor the charts as always, snipers. And across the board, what I'll say is we're wrapping up this week here as I record this video. Equity markets extremely strong right now, and that's going to be a very positive catalyst for Bitcoin over the next few weeks. You can see the total market cap is actually above its 200-week moving average right now. So that is some hope there for Bitcoin that it can also potentially get above that 200-week moving average. Let's continue to monitor this total market cap. The total market cap is one of the most fascinating charts to me because guess what? It did not breach its 2018 previous all-time high. It actually followed the rules, which is a previous resistance turns into future support. And that's what we're seeing here with the total market cap. So it was a phenomenal day in our Discord. For those that are day trading altcoins, we took a ton of long trades as we started to see this market momentum today. Let's see what happens over the next few days. Is it better to be shorting right now? I wouldn't say that just yet, especially with the four-dimensional revolving parts so strong. Maybe if we see the DXY push to the upside and we see the equity markets start to fall, it could be the time to start taking potential short positions, but be careful right now. There's still a lot of bullish momentum in the outside environment. And so Bitcoin certainly has the reasons to go and see some further upside to at least get to that 200-week moving average. Let's see what happens, snipers. Don't get caught on the wrong side of the trade. And with that, I appreciate each and every one of you tuned into the channel. I will see you guys next time. Snipers.